Where are we at in society today? Come after me. I'm a man. I'm 40.
Go ahead. Make my day.
Every single week, I put my freaking heart and soul into this. I don't go out there and laugh. It's not funny. It's not fun. Nothing's funny to me. I don't want to go out there and get embarrassed on Monday Night Football in front of everybody.
I think this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship.
So ain't nothing changed from yesterday. Still the same person I was yesterday, and I got the same thing for you that I had yesterday. You know why I'm here.
You play to win the game. You don't play to just play it. That's the great thing about sports. You play to win. And I don't care if you don't have any wins. You go play to win. When you start telling me it doesn't matter, then retire. Get out. Because it matters.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to a Tullymore Tuesday here on X's and Bros. Glad you're with us throughout the state of Michigan and streaming live on YouTube and X and Facebook as well. I'm Matt Shepard. We're with you Monday through Friday, 6 until 9, throughout this wonderful sports crazed state, and we had a lot of stuff going on. Trent Bally is with us as well. Terry and Arnold will not be with the Lions, unfortunately. They're placed on IR with a shoulder injury out for at least 4 weeks. It just continues. I know every team goes through injuries. Trent, I don't know if we've seen something like this.
Especially over the last 2 years.
Yeah, I mean, so you lose Kirby Joseph. You've lost Terry and Arnold. We're without DJ Reed for a period of time, right? Defensively, beginning of the year, Ali McNeil. I know. This is the funny part of it, I suppose. Marcus Davenport. Taylor Decker's missing time.
Malcolm Rodriguez coming into the year.
Good point. I mean, more of a special teams guy. Yeah, an important part of the special teams. Christian Mahogany's out for the year, right? For most of the season at the left guard spot. Graham Glasgow's missed a few games. Ratledge, I believe, missed one game. Penny Sewell's been healthy. Amon-Ra St. Brown was not at practice yesterday with an ankle injury.
Sam Laporta out for the year.
Sam Laporta out for the year. Isaac Tesla was out for most of the year. Oh, I'm sorry. No, he wasn't. He's healthy. They just didn't use him.
It really does go on, though. The list does go on.
Yeah, it's pretty. I mean, maybe we've seen worse or more extensive, but it's pretty deep. Speaking of Amon-Ra St. Brown, so in all likelihood, because I don't think it's fair to say he's been ruled out for sure, but in all likelihood, he's not going to play against Dallas. Low ankle sprain, suffered in the first quarter against Green Bay. People believe it's going to be 1 to 2 games that he's out. Research would tell you, according to CBS Sports Network, the Lions rank number 1. This is how important he is for this team. Lions rank number 1 in yards per play with him on the field since he began his career in the NFL in 2021. With him off the field, guess where they rank? Yards per play. When he's on the field, number 1 in the league. When he's off the field, where? 25th. That tells you something on how important he is, okay? That's when he's not there, when he's not available. When he's on the field, Detroit ranks number 2 in offensive efficiency. When he's not, they rank 16th. Those are important numbers, okay? His 505 receptions, second all-time in the player's first 5 career seasons. He's recorded at least 1,161 yards receiving in each of his last 3 years and double digits touchdowns in each of his last 2 seasons. That's how important Amon-Ra St. Brown is to the Lions offense and what they may be missing, in all likelihood missing, against Dallas, who, by the way, is the number 1 team in the National Football League in throwing the football. So keep that in mind. I know people earlier this year wanted no Terry and Arnold. Okay, I get it. I do. I thought coming into the season he was going to establish himself as a number one corner. Could not have been more wrong. But everybody who said he's out, Amik Robertson should be in there, know that Amik Robertson has allowed, I think, the highest passer rating I read the other day, highest passer rating against in the NFL. He's been terrible this year. So just keep that in mind moving forward. All right? Struggles there for sure. And I know. I talked to somebody about this last night. There's I think there's a collective Lions concern right now. And I think it's fair because you're seeing I hate the window of opportunity, but I think there's a lot of people who look at this team right now, including yours truly, and see the future pitfalls. This is not one of those situations where back in the day we were looking forward to the NFL draft after week 4. This is one of those situations where people are looking at the youth and the talent for sure, but wondering aloud, how many other guys can you keep? Why did you feel the need to keep certain guys on a long-term deal when they weren't up against, when you didn't have to, okay? And then how are you going to address all the major concerns you have moving forward? Right? Kirby Joseph is talking about how bad his knee is. It's really messed up. I don't know if it's long-term or not, but it's worth considering a little bit of a concern. It's worth having a little bit of a concern there. Terry Arnold, the injury, second straight year he's missed time with injuries. We know there's no Enos Rakestraw, for crying out loud. Second-round pick hasn't even dressed. DJ Reed has not been as good as we thought he would be. You're in all likelihood going to lose Alex Anzalone. You're going to replace guys like Marcus Davenport. You hope DJ Reader will soon be gone. Roy Lopez was on a 1-year deal, right? How many more years does Taylor Decker have in that body that has been beat up over the last 8 to 10 years? And he deserves a lot of credit because of how good he's been. Christian Mahogany has missed most of this year. We don't know how good he is or can be. Graham Glasgow will be replaced at center, right? David Montgomery, in all likelihood, is playing his final season as a Lion, you would think. I mean, there's a lot of things that need to be addressed. And I had this debate with somebody, and they said, look, we've got to address the lines. I said, I don't disagree with you. Not one bit. People want the flashy toys. I want this wide receiver from Auburn. Man, is he really good. You know who I like, Shep? I really like this cornerback because he's going to be a lockdown guy. Yeah, consider Jeff Okudah. Get the guys out of the trenches. And I mean that. I know it's not a big deal to a lot of people until it becomes a big deal to a lot of people right now. Answer me this. And this goes against what I'm just saying here, but Tylee Williams earlier this year, when there was no Olympic deal, and there was a door that swung open for him as a first-round pick, people said, he's going to have a really good year because they thought he was jumping off the page. Have you heard about him at all since week 3?
No.
Okay. Me either. I was just wondering. You know which defensive lineman has received the most love? Which defensive lineman has received the most amount of talking points this year? Lopez. Even Lee McNeil, first game back, he was great, right? Everybody loved it. What an impact he's made. Where has that been? Long-term deals with a lot of these guys, and they are not living up to them. It's a deep concern. We'll continue to talk about it all morning long. We got a busy schedule here on X's and Bros. We're glad you're with us. Brought to you this hour by Mitch Lyons Wealth, MitchLyonsWealth.com.
Hey Lions fans, the boys in Honolulu Blue are making us proud again this season. A great game plan combined with great execution leads to victory. Moving up and down the field is important, but you've got to be able to convert once you reach the red zone. Things get tighter, less room for error. It's no different in retirement. Hi, I'm Mitch Lyons, founder of Mitch Lyons Wealth. When it comes to your finances, the retirement red zone is a critical time in your planning. The 5 years before retirement and up into your retirement can dictate whether you have the success you hope for. The game changes. You've got to protect what you've spent a lifetime saving and optimize your retirement income. If you're not sure you've got the right people on your team to ensure your success in the retirement red zone, what are you waiting for? Contact us today and put the Mitch Lyons Wealth team to work for you. Go to MitchLyonsWealth.com. A simple 10-minute call can help us determine whether we can help you. 30 or 40 years of saving is worth it. That's MitchLyonsWealth.com. Mitch Lyons Wealth, your best game plan to protect, grow, and win retirement.
Hey, Lions fans, this is Matt Shepard, host of X's and Bros, 6 till 9 each morning. Thursday, I'll be broadcasting live from the Meyer location in Rivertown Market in Detroit with my friends at Ferris Coffee, the official coffee maker of your Detroit Lions. Together, the Michigan Sports Network and Ferris Coffee want to send you to the big game Thursday night against the Dallas Cowboys. Listen to X's and Bros and The Huge Show to earn your chance at a pair of tickets. Hear the Lions roar on Thursday Night Football with Ferris Coffee and the Michigan Sports Network.
The Michigan Sports Network is your exclusive home for X's and Bros with Matt Shepard and The Huge Show later today at 3 p.m.
Huge here for Van Andel Institute Purple Community. Now, they're a grassroots fundraising network powered by the volunteers who support VAI's mission to improve health now and in the future. Learn more at purplecommunity.org.
All right, back with you on X's and Bros throughout the state of Michigan on a Tullymore Tuesday. Glad you're with us. So we talked a little bit about, the Lions injury situation and how tough it can be. Remind me of this, too. I said Dallas is the team that leads the National Football League in passing yards per game. Detroit has just 4 sacks over the last 4 weeks. 2.5 by defensive linemen.
Just terrible.
It's terrible. It really is terrible. Isn't it amazing how quickly things in sports can change?
Oh, yeah.
It doesn't take much for you. I mean, the emotions, you got to try to control yourself as much as possible, but it's okay to look at it logically. The expectation for the Lions before the season was Super Bowl. Even with the loss of coordinators, even with the loss of linemen up front, Super Bowl, and I think it was a fair expectation. Not because they went 15-2 last year in one division, but because you thought the depth was there, the experience might help them. This is why this whole linear belief has got to be shed as quickly as possible. Well, we got it this far this year. We've got to. That means next year we should take the next step. That is not the case at all. Otherwise, we wouldn't be constantly talking about 6 teams on average per year in the NFL making the playoffs one year and missing the next. And that's what's going to happen. In all likelihood, you're going to have 5 or 6 teams not make playoffs this year who made it a year ago. Right now, it's trending toward the Lions. Now, there are some people, as one of those teams, there are some people who firmly believe this team. I'm happy for you. I mean that. I love your positivity. Mine is more objectivity. There's nothing this team has shown us this year. Well, maybe that's not fair. There's nothing this team has shown us recently that would indicate it could win 4 of the last 5. They've shown it over the last 2 years. Shown it over the last 2.5 years, for sure. But this season, the last time, remember, they've only gone on a winning streak once this year. They won 4 games in a row. After losing to Green Bay, they beat Chicago, they beat Baltimore, they beat Cleveland, and they beat Cincinnati. After that, folks, you know this, it's been loss, win. They've alternated losses and victories. It's a stunning, it's not even a collapse. It's a stunning fall to mediocrity for this team. And you can blame injuries all you want. I think that's part of it. It's an explanation. But a lot of teams go through that. A lot of teams have to deal with injuries. We know that. All right. Dallas has had to deal with quite a bit. Dallas, we thought, not only had to deal with injuries, but they had to deal with a meddling owner / general manager who doesn't know what the hell he's doing. Well, guess what? That guy, Jerry Jones, made a couple of deals, and now it looks like they're pretty good. Good enough to scare us on Thursday night, I would guess. It is for me. Anyway, Patriots blow out the Giants 33-15 on Monday Night Football. New England scored 5 times in their first 6 possessions. Drake made 3 throws for 284 yards and 2 scores. They become the first team to 11 wins, and they've won 10 in a row. I said this to my son last night. Can you imagine if that franchise that won over and over and over again under Tom Brady, he leaves for Tampa, Bill Belichick can't get it done with Mac Jones or Zappy or any other quarterback they had in. And then they bring in Drake May, and in his second year, they get to a Super Bowl before the Lions ever get to their first. Can you imagine that? And he kind of laughed and said, Patriots aren't going to the Super Bowl. I said, okay. Just out of curiosity, who is from the AFC? So he paused. Like, and he didn't have an answer. And I'm not saying it's New England for sure. But can you tell me another team that's impressed you more?
Not in that conference, honestly. I mean, maybe Denver because of that defense, but no, I think New England's better than Denver right now.
Yeah, I think Denver's defense is outstanding, but their offense lacks an awful lot, right?
Yeah, and we talked about this a little bit yesterday. In a year where the usual suspects, the Chiefs, the Bengals, the Ravens, the Bills,
all those quarterbacks, those quarterbacks. Maybe Buffalo, but Buffalo's shown plenty of proverbial chinks in the armor, don't you think?
And they're in the Patriots division,
right? And they're going to have to go through New England. I don't think it matters that much to Buffalo. But New England, look, they've won 10 in a row. We can't keep changing how we describe the teams we think are most impressive. If you're talking about a recent trend, there's no better recent trend in the National Football League than the New England Patriots. We may not like that, and that's fair. But the bottom line is they've won 10 in a row. Now, Denver's won 9 straight. I get it. You don't believe in really anybody. Me either. There isn't that one standout team. There isn't that one Super Bowl favorite, I suppose. It was supposed to be your team and my team, but that's not the case. And you don't believe in Chicago, that's cool. There's a lot of reasons you don't believe in Chicago. First of all, because of what they did last year. You're pissed off that Ben Johnson has had success. You can't stand his post-game locker room screams and taking off his shirt, and you don't believe Caleb Williams. You get it. The Rams? Is that not the biggest nightmare for Lions fans? Either Ben Johnson with the Bears or Matthew Stafford and the Rams. Again. It's a tough one. It really is. Michigan State has made it official, and we will talk about it a lot today. Pat Fitzgerald is the new head coach of the Spartans football program, the 51-year-old who turned 51 today. Congratulations. Happy birthday. On a reported 5-year deal, takes over a team that won 4-8 this past season, won 1 conference game. Now, the Board of Trustees has to approve this, and they next meet, I believe, on December 12th. We will talk with Mitch Lyons about this at 8 o'clock. Fred Heumann, an outstanding sports anchor and reporter, one of the best writers you'll ever meet, at 8:15, at 8:18. And Jim Comparoni, who's all over it on Spartan Mag, at 8:35. So that whole 8 o'clock hour dedicated to Michigan State football, and looking forward to it for sure. Red Wings are back on ice tonight, trying to stop a 4-game winless streak against Boston, who they earned a point against on Saturday in Boston. Pistons hold off Atlanta 99-98. This was tight throughout. Neither team led by more than 5 points. Cade Cunningham had one of the more dazzling plays you will see this season on a crossover, a spin, a take, and a reverse layup. But Jalen Duren was the best player. 21 points, 11 rebounds. Pistons overall shot 44%, only 5 triples. But they've won 9 of their last 11. Duren continues to super impress.
And like you said, a relatively quiet night for Cade by his standards, but the way he closed the game out. 7 points, and with the last play that you mentioned with the razzle dazzle, just awesome.
Yeah, it was awesome. And I don't want to be the negative guy. All right. I'm not. You know how I feel about him. I think he's in the MVP conversation, and deservedly so. It's just sometimes these things sneak in. It's not consistent with him this year, so that's a good thing. But people are going to talk about the 16 points and the 8 rebounds, the 8 assists, 6 turnovers. Okay, so 8 assists, but he also had 6 turns. And Detroit overall had 22. Here's what happened last night, and this is a good situation because good teams find that way, right? We've asked that question before. Is this a good team finding a way to win or a bad team finding a way to lose? We asked that Mitch Lyons poll question after the Lions beat the Giants, if you recall. So they found a way to win, but the 22 turnovers can't happen. They were able to overcome it. That can't happen. Jalen Duren should be the story because he was fantastic. We'll talk more about that on the other side, brought to you by Mitch Lyons Wealth. Stay with us.
It's a New Year's Eve bingo bash at Soaring Eagle Casino. Close the books on 2025 and win big prizes, including free bingo for a year, logoed champagne glasses stuffed with $500 cash, concert tickets, bingo baskets, and more. Tickets just $200 on sale now at etix.com. Come on down and win big. It's New Year's Eve at the Soaring Eagle Bingo Hall. Main session at 1:30, early bird at noon. Must be 18. Rules at SoaringEagleCasino.com.
You are listening to X's and Bros with Matt Shepard on the Michigan Sports Network, but you don't need to be in Michigan to tune us in. Search XB Mornings on X or X's and Bros on YouTube.
Hey, Lions fans, this is Matt Shepard, host of X's and Bros, 6 till 9 each morning. Thursday, I'll be broadcasting live from the Meijer location in Rivertown Market in Detroit with my friends at Ferris Coffee, the official coffee maker of your Detroit Lions. Together, the Michigan Sports Network and Ferris Coffee want to send you to the big game Thursday night against the Dallas Cowboys. Listen to X's and Bros and The Huge Show to earn your chance at a pair of tickets. Hear the Lions roar on Thursday Night Football with Ferris Coffee and the Michigan Sports Network.
Save a good deal more this holiday season with Meijer brand hot deals on all your baking needs. Like Meijer brand all-purpose flour for only $2.19 and pure granulated sugar for $2.89. Save on Meijer brand light brown sugar, confectioner's powdered sugar, heavy whipping cream, and whipped topping. All just $1.99 each. And 12 packs of Meijer brand candy canes are $1.79. Shopping for holiday baking essentials is a good deal better at Meijer. Exclusions apply. See all deals in the Meijer app.
No, it was definitely an ugly one. We definitely could play a better game tonight. Both ends of the floor. But so many of these games, you gotta be happy when you get a dub. Even though it was an ugly one.
True words there for sure. Isaiah Stewart after the game last night. 6 points, 10 boards, 5 blocks. What do you appreciate about a guy like that? He can impact a game without having to score a lot. He can impact a game without having to shoot a lot. That's what you like about him. And I focused on the turnovers, unfortunately, 22. Not enough. It's too many. It's not good enough. But they did have 9 blocks, including a big one from Cade Cunningham near the rim. I think I'm guilty of this. Cade Cunningham is so good. There is so much attention on him. And he makes it look so easy. He hit a jumper to get his, I think they went up 2 at the point. He hit a free throw line jumper, like a fadeaway to make it 97-95, I believe. That was just as smooth as you could possibly imagine. Beautiful, beautiful to watch. He really is. The way he glides, I don't want to go overboard because I think there's plenty of people who do that with him. So I'm really not telling you anything that you don't know. But the way he plays is so fluid and smooth. I appreciate it so much. I love watching the guy play basketball. It's awesome. And really, he's been this way since high school. But it's a nice win, 99-98. What has left me really encouraged with certain guys like Jalen Duren. And it's interesting, as I watched Jalen Duren last night, I thought to myself, well, Detroit chose not to pick up or chose not to give him a new contract. Okay. So he's going to be a restricted free agent at the end of the year. I think there's a lot of people who should have signed him. So it's going to be him and Jaden Ivey who get that opportunity. And I was thinking, that now that he's playing really well, and he is. Did you see some of his offensive moves? He's starting to get catch the ball at the elbow, turn and drive the key.
He also has, I've noticed he's got a lot better touch lately.
Yeah.
Just close around the rim, his little floaters. He's got touch now.
Don't you think his footwork is a lot better too?
Yeah, he's much more patient. He just is all around looking a lot better offensively, Shep. You're right.
Yeah, I know some people want to give up on him, but he's, as I mentioned to people, last year, he's 21. He's only 22 years old. We just can't emphasize that enough. This is the perfect scenario in which you would love to be if you're any professional franchise in any league. You get a 22-year-old who is getting better, and you get to keep him in his prime years on what we hope will be a long-term deal. Now, I did get a text earlier that the Pistons need a stretch 4 so badly. Okay. It always begs the question, and I get it. Everybody's trying to build the perfect team. I understand that. There's some weakness that every team has. And who's going to expose it? It's a good question. I don't know. I mean, is Oklahoma City eventually going to expose it? Man, they're good, right? Orlando won again last night. I think they've won 6 in a row. Milwaukee lost to the Wizards. They got one of the best stretch 4s in all of the world, in Giannis Antetokounmpo, who is really good, but they couldn't overcome it. I get it. You're trying to build that perfect team. Right now, this team doesn't have a lot of weaknesses. And I think what happens is when you're losing, in this case, one of the texters, a stretch 4, you need a stretch 4. This team makes up for a lot of it because of its defense. Its commitment to defense has been really impressive. And you can't deny that. They are just a really well-connected basketball team. Speaking of basketball, Michigan and Michigan State are in the top 10. Latest AP poll, Michigan is at number 3, their highest ranking since 2018, by the way. Spartans boast a number 7 ranking. Purdue is number 1. So there's 3 Big Ten teams right there. Followed by Arizona, then it's Michigan. Duke ranked 4th. UConn, Louisville, MSU. Who else is in there? USC is in there. Illinois is in there, and Indiana is in there. What a year for Indiana. Holy cow. Spartans, by the way, are going to host Iowa tonight. Both teams enter 7-0. MSU averaging about 80 points per game. Hawkeyes a little bit more than that at 83. Both teams giving up about 61 per contest. So looking forward to that matchup at Breslin Center tonight. Here's our Mitch Lineswell poll question. Do you like the hiring of Pat Fitzgerald of MSU? Yes, it's great. I guess it's okay. No, I wanted someone else, anyone but him. That's the Mitch Lineswell poll question. All right. Do you like the hiring of Pat Fitzgerald as MSU head coach? Yes, it's great. I guess it's okay. No, I wanted someone else or anyone but him. Vote as often as you want at XP Mornings. We'll give you the results in the 8 o'clock hour tomorrow. What did you watch? What were you watching last night? Were you watching Pistons or were you watching football?
I watched the Pistons. I was checking in on football here and there, but I watched the Pistons.
Do you find it difficult? For me, Sunday, when the Lions didn't play, so the Lions were playing Thursday night. Sundays don't feel the same if your team's not playing. Am I wrong there? For me, it's not that I don't like watching football. I love watching football. I found myself watching Red Zone most of the day Sunday because my team wasn't playing. I like to sit and watch games usually, but Sunday I found myself, man, it's a hard pull. We had the Cleveland game, for crying out loud. That was the only game that if you wanted to, you watched that throughout. No thanks. I'll take the Red Zone. Thank you very much. But if you watched the game last night, there was a part where Drake May's been unbelievable. I mean, of course, it helps to have all day to throw the football. So it's an equalizer. I mean, it really is. You can be as good as you want defensively and especially on the back end. And we know the Giants, how good they were against Detroit, right? Scared just a little bit defensively. Christian Ellis for New England. Did you see the hit he put on Jackson Dart in the first quarter with about 4 minutes left?
That I did see, yes.
Yeah. That dude was shot out of a flipping cannon, sending Dart reeling into the sideline. I love two things about that. One, Dart's teammates immediately come to support him, and rightfully so. It was a clean hit. It's Christian.
Not as big of a legal hit as you can have.
Yeah, Christian Ellis said afterwards, "What? He's staying in bounds. What do you want me to do?"
Yeah, right at the marker too. I mean, he's about to get the first down.
What do you expect defensive players to do? Defensive players are grown up saying, "Stop the ball carrier," right? Do whatever you can to stop the ball carrier. And now we're going to sit there and question these guys because they got violent hits. Anyway, so everybody comes and supports that, and Dart pops up right away. And I'm not a huge fan of his. I'm not going to lie about that. I mean, the whole jewelry outside the turtleneck, the one. I'm sorry. I mean, it's very minimal. All right, and it's kind of stupid on my part.
I think it's stupid on his part.
The jewelry outside the turtleneck, the eye black under one eye, and the dancing in the end zone after scoring touchdowns. I'm not trying to make this the no fun league. As a quarterback, as a leader of your offense, leave that to the wide receivers, the running backs. Score a touchdown, give it to your offensive lineman, have them spike it, all that stuff, right? You would never have seen guys back in the day doing that. And I know it's a different league, it's a different level, it's a different time and era. This is don't worry about that stuff. All right. Aaron Rodgers doing this stuff. I mean, was he the first quarterback to do it? Maybe. I can't recall. So it shouldn't bother me that much. I'm just not a huge fan, but I give the kid a ton of credit because he popped right up after a massive hit on the sideline from Christian Ellis. I wanted to know this, and I got a text. So let me read a couple of texts here from some folks here. You can text us at 21,000. You could call us on the Meyer hotline, 866-838-4843. By the way, we are giving away 2 tickets to the Lions and Cowboys Thursday night. Ferris Coffee and the Michigan Sports Network are teaming up to send you to the Lions and Cowboys Thursday night at Ford Field. All you have to do is text the word Ferris, Ferris, to 21,000, and we will draw the winner Thursday. So that's how you get involved. That's how you get your name in there. Text Ferris to 21,000. You'll be then put into a kitty, and we draw the name right out of that on Thursday morning at 8:35 for you getting the chance to go watch the Lions and the Cowboys at Ford Field. So let's see here. A couple of texts. Let's see. Here we go. I'm going to be the bad guy and say it out loud. Could there be karma with Kirby? Lots of players hated Kirby Joseph for his hits. Higbee and Kraft and Hawkinson. Stafford even called him out when he was mic'd up. I mean, karma's a bitch. There are others. Jawan Jennings has been a guy who a lot of teams have called out. Jalen Ramsey's another guy. I don't know. I don't think it's karma. I think it's football. I think injuries happen that way. I don't view him as a dirty player. If you watch the NFL every single weekend, and I know you do, how many low hits are there on tight ends? It's constant.
Almost all of them, yeah.
Because you've got guys who are 6'5", 245, 250 pounds coming at you. And you've got guys who are trying to tackle them who are 6'1", 220 pounds. Or 6'2", 220 pounds. So they're going to go low. If we think Kirby Joseph is the only one to take out somebody's pins, you're dead wrong, and you haven't watched enough football. It happens constantly. I'm not saying I like it, and I understand why other tight ends. It happened again last night with Hunter Henry and how he was tackled. So I don't think it's karma by any stretch. Let's see this one. Where are those fans who praised Brad Holmes on signing Kirby Joseph and Aleem McNeil too fast now? Is being proactive on contracts always the right thing to do? In some cases, do some of them lose their edge? Yeah, I think that's been a constant theme in sports for a long time. If you sign a guy to a big contract, does it make him fat and happy? You know, Juan Soto said it earlier in the year in baseball. Literally got up there, took 3 straight strikes, and walked back because he had a problem with his manager and being moved on in the lineup. That's being more of a jackass than it is saying, you know what, I've got my money, don't worry about it. He ended up being 3rd in the MVP race in the National League. I don't think that's who a lot of these guys are. And there's the other thing I would say. My hope is, my trust is that Brad Holmes and his staff have done their homework enough, knowing the player, that they wouldn't act like that once they were rewarded with an extension and a long-term contract. Another text. I heard from the GM paraphrasing, our drafts now are more about developing because it will be hard to draft starters with so much talent on the team already. Yeah, I got to be honest with you. I don't recall that that quote. I'll have to look that up. That's a good thing for your team, and I don't think he's that wrong. If you think about it, going into the season, I don't know when this quote was made, but going into the season, your safeties were set, your corners were set, your linebackers were set, and so were your defensive line. Based on, outside of Aleem McNeil. If Aleem McNeil were healthy at the beginning of the year, Tyreek Williams would come in as a rotational guy, and that's what he is right now. That's a good thing to have. That's a good quote-unquote problem to have, that your team. Now, that doesn't mean they're not challenging for it. We're all well aware of the Hard Knocks episode in which Kelvin Shepard was talking about Malcolm Rodriguez outplaying a lot of veterans. Nobody's handed anything. Certain guys are just better than others. If you don't think Jared Goff's the starting quarterback over Kyle Allen, you haven't watched football at all. If you don't think Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery are going to be your starting tailbacks instead of Sione Vaki, then you haven't been watching football. It's a good thing to have. But there were some battles along the offensive line. You're not replacing Penei Sewell and Sam Laporta and Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jamison Williams. They're just better than the guys who are behind him. Did you think Tom Kennedy deserved an opportunity to outplay Jamison Williams after Williams had over 1,000 yards last year? I doubt that was the case. And by the way, he would have been playing for a contract or at least an extension. So I don't think that was the case. I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. Now, the backup rules are completely different. But going into the season, yeah, you thought most of the jobs, and I think most teams, most good teams, that is the case. I've said this time and time again. Going into training camp, how many guys are fighting for how many spots? Most coaches, most organizations, of the 53-man roster, you probably know 48 of them. And of your 22 starters, you probably know, 19 of them. That's just the way it is in the National Football League. Don't think that the Lions are different in that regard. Shep, this team has a ton of holes, and fans will be fooling their Honolulu blue eyes if they don't think a young development quarterback of the future is a big need who can actually scramble. I don't think people are suggesting they don't need that at all. I think they're suggesting they definitely need that. I don't doubt that one bit, and I'm with you on that. But let me ask you this question, and I think it's a fair question. When and who? See, the easy thing for us to do is to talk about, well, the needs of certain teams and at certain positions. You've got to have a name with it. And what are you willing to do? Look at Detroit's draft picks. Are you going to use a first-round pick on a quarterback? Are you going to use a second-round pick on a quarterback? And if that were the case, who would that quarterback be? You wouldn't. No, I'm sure it'll be addressed at some point. You know, maybe fourth round, maybe fifth round. Considering I get texts that say this team's got a lot of holes. You and I just talked about some of those upcoming needs, free agents in some areas, drafts in others. You tell me where you're going to put that. We'll talk more about that on the other side. 8 o'clock hour dedicated to the hiring of Pat Fitzgerald from Michigan State. We'll be joined by Mitch Lyons at 8 o'clock, Fred Heumann at 8:18, and Jim Comparoni at 8:35 on X's and BrO's, brought to you by Mitch Lyons Wealth.
Soar to new heights of winning with Eagle Casino and Sports. Enjoy your favorite games wherever you are, whether at home or on the go. Dive into exciting slots, spin the roulette wheel, or challenge yourself with virtual table games, all at your fingertips. Sign up now and opt in to receive a deposit match up to $1,500 for the casino, plus up to 100 free spins. Download the Eagle Casino and Sports app today and experience winning with just a tap. Go you! Must be located in Michigan and 21 years or older. Other conditions apply. Visit playeagle.com to join the action. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Huge here with a message to all of you Lions fans. My good friend Josh Garvey, who runs Dorn Mayhew's Grand Rapids office, will join me every Thursday with former Lion Lomas Brown, and we'll go inside the Lions each and every week all the way through the Super Bowl. Dorn Mayhew is proud to partner with The Huge Show, and we're proud to have a guy like Josh Garvey join us in studio every week. If you have a Lions question or comment, you can drop them at Huge Show on Twitter, The Huge Show on Facebook. Dorn Mayhew, proud to be a part of the West Michigan community and across the entire state with their corporate worldwide headquarters in Troy, Michigan. So make plans every Thursday, 5 p.m. It's Josh Garvey, who is a managing shareholder at Dorn Mayhew's GR office, with Lomas Brown on The Huge Show, going inside the Lions every Thursday at 5 p.m.
Hey, Lions fans, this is Matt Shepard, host of X's and BrO's 6 till 9 each morning. Thursday, I'll be broadcasting live from the Meyer location in Rivertown Market in Detroit with my friends at Ferris Coffee, the official coffee maker of your Detroit Lions. Together, the Michigan Sports Network and Ferris Coffee want to send you to the big game Thursday night against the Dallas Cowboys. Listen to X's and BrO's and The Huge Show to earn your chance
at a pair of tickets. Hear the Lions roar on Thursday Night Football with Ferris Coffee and the Michigan Sports Network.
Shop Meijer's Cyber Deals November 30th through December 2nd and save a good deal more on the hottest gifts of the season, like 50% off JBL Tune Buds and Flex, Beats Solo 4-on-ear wireless headphones for $129.95, and JBL Grip portable speakers for $84.95. Low prices on presents they'll love. That's the gift-giving good life at Meijer. Cyber deals are available in the Meijer app or in store. Exclusions apply.
The Freddie the Pizza Man Foundation is dedicated to providing support to families and Michigan schools touched by autism. We invite you to join us in supporting these families and schools by making a donation at freddythepizzaman.com. With your donation, you can help provide essential resources that can make a real impact. Visit freddythepizzaman.com to make a donation and to learn more about the foundation's mission. That's FREDI thepizzaman.com. Together, we can make a difference.
Ferris Coffee has been family-owned and operated for over 100 years. Its popular Den Blend and Dark Roast is more than coffee and more than the official coffee of the Detroit Lions. It's a call to rise. Ferris Coffee and the Lions are the perfect match. They embrace those who show up early, cheer loud, and never back down. Den Blend is perfectly roasted in Grand Rapids and provides the ultimate fuel for fans who wake up and roar. Whether you're tailgating at the game or cheering from your couch, Den Blend is your go-to coffee for your game day ritual.
Second hour of our program, we're brought to you by Meyer. Welcome back, X's and Bros, Monday through Friday, 6 till 9, here on the great stage of Michigan's Michigan Sports Network. The Meyer hotline, 866-838-4843. Text line, Sports Radio 21,000. That's all you got to do to get involved. And just a reminder that we want to send you to the Lions and Cowboys game at Ford Field Thursday night. How can you be eligible for that? Easy. It really is simple. You do this at a traffic light. Text Ferris, F-E-R-R-I-S, to 21,000. Just simple as it gets. It'll take you literally 7 seconds. Ferris to 21,000. And we'll get you in the running for a possible 2-ticket prize. Watch the Lions and the Cowboys play Thursday night. Here's our poll question. Our Mitchell Lions poll question. You like hiring Pat Fitzgerald from your state? Yes, it's great. I guess it's okay. No, I wanted somebody else, but no, anybody but him. Vote as often as you want. I've tweeted it out there, and so is our account at XB Mornings, or follow me at Shepard. Another text. My biggest factor why this fall has happened for the Lions: drafting too many injured players, trying to strike gold. Well, I think that's a common theme for a lot of people. I do. I think a lot of people who are Lions fans feel like, oh my God, why are you drafting injured players? Do we think anyone's coming out of college unscathed? I don't. That would concern me too if they're depending on the injury. Let me ask you this: Would you take Drew Brees, knowing what you know about him now? Would you take him out of Purdue? Drafted in the second round. He had a serious shoulder injury in college. Would you have drafted Terrell Davis? He was taken in the sixth round. He had a knee injury in college. Marcus Lattimore. Multiple knee injuries in college. Ryan Shazier at Ohio State. Injuries in college. David Pollock was drafted in the first round. Serious injuries at Georgia. Earl Campbell had injuries at Texas. Adrian Peterson. I'll never forget this. I was on a plane sitting next to a guy who was from Oklahoma. And he was raving about Adrian Peterson. And I said, man, I don't know. I don't think I'd draft him because of the knee injuries. Had a high ankle sprain in 2005. Broke his collarbone in 2006. Knee injury in 2007. Hamstring in 2007. He dealt with injuries throughout his entire college career and still finished with over 4,000 rushing yards. Had a long career in the National Football League, too. I'm just wondering. That's all I'm asking. I think I do. I think it's really easy to say you can't draft these guys. I think there's a lot of guys who get hurt in college. You're going to end up drafting guys who have some type of injury history. Now, how significant that is completely debatable. But the whole belief that, I had somebody text me 2 weeks ago that the Lions drafted an injured guard. And I thought, who are you talking about? Tate Ratledge? He's not injured. No, Miles Frazier was the response. And I said, wait a minute. Miles Frazier made 50 starts at LSU. What are you talking about? You drafted him, then he got injured. Yes, but you didn't draft an injured player. You drafted a player who got injured. There's a difference. I think there are a lot of players who get drafted after suffering some college injuries. If you're drafting players who have serious injuries and are missing time and so on and so forth, that's a problem. Answer me this. What about Penei Sewell? Are you okay with him? Because what about him at Oregon? See, the people who use the reasoning on why Detroit is crumbling a little bit here by drafting injured players only bring up the players who have continued to get injured, not the players who actually suffered injuries in college and have been able to play through them. Now, again, I'll reiterate, I don't totally disagree with you. Nobody's drafting, nobody of the Lions is drafting anybody unless that player passes a physical and your medical team is confident that they can make things work. I think we have a tendency to forget that. I mean, this is the reputation of scouts and doctors and GMs. And it's really important for them to get it right too. Otherwise, they don't keep their job or get to have another job. So I want you to take that into consideration moving forward. I'm not saying that every team is perfect in this regard, and people make mistakes. Doctors make mistakes. General managers make mistakes. Scouts make mistakes. We know that. We've lived that. We've lived that with the Lions fans, for sure. All I'm telling you is that if you think you're getting the perfect guy, that doesn't necessarily mean that that guy hasn't had a nick here or there. I'm not sticking up for him because I think you have legitimate reasons, legitimate concerns for certain players. All right? I do. So don't mistake me for saying you're wrong, because I don't think you're wrong. But saying constantly that all he does is draft injured players is not true. And there's been a lot of players who have been drafted, as I pointed out, and drafted highly, who have gone on to have success and almost injury-free success in the National Football League. Freddie texts, Shep, he drafted injured players higher in the draft, and even worse, used draft capital to trade up on 8 of 9 of those injured draftees. Okay, again, let me reiterate. Yes, I understand he's done that. As I mentioned before, if we're listening to one another here, Drew Brees, 2nd round, Terrell Davis, well, he was a late round pick, Earl Campbell, a 1st round pick, Marcus Lattimore, a 4th round pick, Ryan Shazier, a 1st round pick, David Pollock, a 1st round pick, Adrian Peterson, a 1st round pick. There have been guys who've been drafted before who have been hurt and gone on to have Hall of Fame careers. So I'm not saying you're necessarily wrong there. I don't know about the 8 or 9 of those injured draftees. I was unaware of that. But I don't know. I mean, starting on the IL, guys starting on the IL, I'd like to know the 8 or 9 players. And of course, and I get another text that says, people want, a quarterback, Diego Pavia. Oh my God. Are you kidding? Okay. To each his own. Dude's 6 feet tall, if that. Can you imagine? Seriously. Oh, he can run. That's great. No thanks.
He's not an NFL quarterback.
He's not an NFL quarterback.
Two things can be true. You can be great in college, and he is borderline great in college. He's a gamer. He's fun to watch. I get it. He's not an NFL quarterback.
No, I don't believe he is either. And I think he's got incredible gumption, and he's got toughness, and a lot of the things that I absolutely love.
Yeah, I love watching him.
Yeah, right. But he's not a guy who you would necessarily look at to be an eventual starter in the NFL. You're not. Now, he's got a chip on his shoulder. And I suppose anybody who wants to talk about Drew Brees like I did with the injuries can then use Diego Pavia and say, well, you bring up Drew Brees, he's Hall of Fame quarterback. He was 6 feet. Pavia's 6 feet. I don't think he's Drew Brees, with all due respect. Love the fact that he has basically battled all odds and said, screw you. And he could do that to me and anybody else who doubts him. Love guys like that. I'm not spending any type of, I don't even know where he's ranked. I'd be surprised if he's top 10 quarterback in college football coming out. There's a lot of guys who had really good college careers, Eric Crouch, who didn't make it in the NFL, Josh White. There's a lot of them. It's okay. He's had a really good college career. I wouldn't draft him as a quarterback. We're back after this. Brought to you by Meyer.
Make every second count inside the $3,360,000 Mega Cash Cube at Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort. Every Friday and Saturday in December from 5 p.m. to 11 p.m. 2 lucky winners will be drawn every hour to step into the Cash Cube. Once the bills start flying, it's game on. Grab as much cash as you can before the clock hits zero. $30,000 in cash is swirling around, and whatever you can grab is yours. Only at Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort. Your getaway reimagined. Visit SoaringEagleCasino.com for complete rules and details.
Save a good deal more this holiday season with Meyer brand hot deals on all your baking needs. Like Meyer brand all-purpose flour for only $2.19 and pure granulated sugar for $2.89. Save on Meyer brand light brown sugar, confectioner's powdered sugar, heavy whipping cream, and whipped topping. All just $1.99 each. And 12 packs of Meyer brand candy canes are $1.79. Shopping for holiday baking essentials is a good deal better at Meyer. Exclusions apply. See all deals in the Meyer app.
Hey, Lions fans, this is Matt Shepard, host of X's and Bros 6 till 9 each morning. Thursday, I'll be broadcasting live from the Meyer location in Rivertown Market in Detroit with my friends at Ferris Coffee, the official coffee maker of your Detroit Lions. Together, the Michigan Sports Network and Ferris Coffee want to send you to the big game Thursday night against the Dallas Cowboys. Listen to X's and Bros and The Huge Show to earn your chance at a pair of tickets. Hear the Lions roar on Thursday Night Football with Ferris Coffee and the Michigan Sports Network.
The Michigan Sports Network is your exclusive home for X's and Bros with Matt Shepard and The Huge Show later today at 3 p.m.
Van Andel Institute Purple Community is a grassroots fundraising network powered by the dedicated volunteers who support VAI's mission to improve human health now and in the future. When you raise funds through the Van Andel Institute Purple Community, 100% of the proceeds go directly to the Institute's research into diseases like cancer and Parkinson's, as well as VAI's science education programs. Learn how you can get involved at purplecommunity.org.
Our margin for error is very small right now. So, of course, we got to find a way to win, and we want to win, you know. And I think I go back to this. I mean, we just lost one. We got to find a way to win this next one in front of us. And, yeah, I mean, time's running out. It's all about finding a way to win the game. But I've also been in these now before where we got counted out when I was a player. You know, we lost 2 in a row, and we were almost mathematically eliminated from the playoffs. That was all the writing, and then we won out and got in. So you find a way to win the one in front of you and don't get caught up in the rest of the stuff. That's the bottom line. We're in this business to win. We're trying to win. We got to win.
Dan Campbell this week on his team understanding what lies in front of them. They lose again, they're done. You and I both know that. Right. Maybe mathematically, not necessarily, but suddenly you lose to Dallas. Think about the tiebreakers you've lost. Green Bay already, Philadelphia already. Then it would be Dallas. It's too much to overcome, man. I mean, if you look at the other teams and their records and their schedules, who's left? It's just too much. And I think a lot of it, you look at the NFC West, you see how good the Rams, the Seahawks, and the Niners are playing better football. There are so many teams right now playing better football. And I know when we look at better, we oftentimes feel like we'll use the word consistent football than the Lions. Those 3 teams I mentioned, the NFC West, even though the Rams lost to Carolina. It's hard to disagree with Chicago, all right? It's hard to disagree with Green Bay. I know you don't like it, but they've won 3 straight, okay, at 8-3-1. And then you also got to look within the division. The Packers are 3-0 in the NFC North. Detroit, a team that didn't lose a division game last year, is 1-3. You got to take into account the conference. Chicago 6-2, Green Bay 6-2-1, Detroit 4-4 against NFC teams. I'll guarantee you people in Philly aren't thrilled right now with how their team is doing, so much so that their offensive coordinator's house was egged over the weekend. Just real quick, because as I mentioned, somebody had texted in talking about injured players. I'd mentioned Penei Sewell. The response was Penei Sewell sat out his final year. Yeah, the COVID year. I get it. I know that. He also missed 6 games in 2018 because of a high ankle sprain. All right. He was a durable guy for the most part, but he missed 6 games because of that injury. My point is that it's tough to find players in college who haven't suffered some type of injury. It's really challenging to do that. I don't want to draft guys who have knee problems and are constantly hurt. I mean, am I wrong here? Trent, did you know about Enos Rakestraw at Missouri? Did you know about him at all?
No.
I didn't either.
Nope.
He hasn't played a snap, basically, for the Lions. I mean, he's been on some special teams, very little, right? Was he an injured player at Missouri that you can recall? Because
I don't know.
Yeah, I can't recall that. Was he a guy who suddenly is injury prone? I didn't think so. And it's the same thing with the guard out of LSU, Miles Frazier.
Yeah.
So what are we talking about here? We're talking about specific guys, right? Aren't we?
Yes. And I understand the frustration. How can you not? I think you do too, Shep. But we can't, at least I shouldn't say we. I don't know if I don't know if I want to point the finger at Brad Holmes as aggressively as some fans are right now.
Okay.
Now, if next year you have the same problems and your draft class next year is injury prone and none of these guys can get on the field or make a difference for you, then that's an issue. Because then the trend that you started with your first 3 draft classes with Penei Sewell and Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jahmyr Gibbs and all these guys, right? Then all of a sudden that flips to, okay, well, your last 3 draft classes haven't done act for you.
Right.
And all of a sudden that becomes your reputation in the city. Things change fast.
If the reputation hasn't already been built, where I think a lot of people feel like it has. So I looked up Enos Rakestraw at Missouri. His freshman year, he played 10 games. I don't know if he was injured, but he played 10. That's most of the games. Next year, sure seemed like he was injured, only played 4. Then he had 13. Then he had 10. Like, how much is enough and how significant does the injury have to be for you and I to get scared away from drafting the individual? It's a bad pick, at least so far. It sure seems like it's been a bad pick. But is he become injury prone in college? Is he injury prone now in the pros? Look, Marcus Davenport, we said the same thing. I'd love to know how much Marcus Davenport played in college, and suddenly he's never played. He has never played a full NFL season. Think about that for a minute. Guy's been around a long time. He's a first-round draft pick in 2018, right? Texas San Antonio, he was a rock. He was a rock in college. 11 starts, 13 starts, 11 starts. All 4 years at Texas San Antonio. He gets to the NFL. Can he stay healthy, Trent? Nope, he can't. I'm just trying to figure it out. That's all. I don't like the risk. How's that? Of drafting players who have a history of being injured. When does that take place for players? It depends. It's why you're rolling the dice, man. It's why it's a risk. Okay? There are points, and I understand them. Completely understand that. There are points where fans say, I don't want to draft this guy because he's been injured in college. Okay. I mean, at some point, like, are you taking a player who is less talented but healthy over a player who is much more talented and who has gotten hurt in college? That's up to you, the individual. Hendon Hooker was hurt at Tennessee, right? And he was drafted by the Lions in the 3rd round. Didn't work out, did it? When he was drafted, people praised that. I don't recall one person saying, I'll tell you what, this scares me. Why? Why does it scare you? Because he's been hurt. They just wanted the quarterback, man. Let me take that back. They wanted the mobile quarterback. They wanted the SEC guy, right? These are the things we want. These are the things that we talk about until it doesn't work out. And just so we're clear, Hendon Hooker started his career at Virginia Tech. Okay. Throw away the freshman year because he wasn't playing because, he had somebody in front of him. 11 starts and then 8 starts. And then at Tennessee in 2021, he made 13 starts and 11 starts. So he had the knee injury. So that would cause you concern. For the most part, he was a healthy player in college. His senior year, he was healthy enough to lead the country in completion percentage. Threw for 3,100 yards, okay, and 27 touchdowns. Pretty impressive numbers for a guy who was hurt and missed a couple of games. That's what you're looking at. You're talking about him as an injured player. They drafted an injured player, the knee injury. And that's really all it takes. I mean, it takes one injury for you to shy away from a player. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just letting you know the narrative right now has been, well, Brad Holmes drafts injured players. I've given you some pretty good examples, I think, of other general managers who've drafted some injured players. How severe is the injury? I've given you an example of a guy who is never injury-free in the NFL, but was in college. How does that make sense? It doesn't seem to. We pinpoint the guys who are disappointing us and haven't worked out and use that instead of the guys who have been injured in college and have worked out. It's a strange scenario. I'm not saying you're wrong here. I'm looking at it from a couple of different sides here. We're brought to you by Meyer here in the second hour. The third hour, don't forget, it's all about MSU. We're going to talk about Pat Fitzgerald being the new head coach at Michigan State University. We do that with Mitch Lyons at 8 o'clock. We'll do it with Fred Heumann, a TV sports anchor at WILX in Lansing at 8:18. And, of course, at 8:35 with Jim Comparoni of Spartan Mag. Stay with us.
It's a New Year's Eve bingo bash at Soaring Eagle Casino. Close the books on 2025 and win big prizes, including free bingo for a year, logoed champagne glasses stuffed with $500 cash, concert tickets, bingo baskets, and more. Tickets just $200 on sale now at etix.com. Come on down and win big. It's New Year's Eve at the Soaring Eagle Bingo Hall. Main session at 1:30, early bird at noon. Must be 18. Rules at SoaringEagleCasino.com.
Huge here for Van Andel Institute Purple Community. Now, they're a grassroots fundraising network powered by the volunteers who support VAI's mission to improve health now and in the future. Learn more at purplecommunity.org.
Hey, Lions fans, this is Matt Shepard, host of X's and Bros 6 till 9 each morning. Thursday, I'll be broadcasting live from the Meyer location in Rivertown Market in Detroit with my friends at Ferris Coffee, the official coffee maker of your Detroit Lions. Together, the Michigan Sports Network and Ferris Coffee want to send you to the big game Thursday night against the Dallas Cowboys. Listen to X's and Bros and The Huge Show to earn your chance at a pair of tickets. Hear the Lions roar on Thursday Night Football with Ferris Coffee and the Michigan Sports Network.
The Michigan Sports Network is your exclusive home for X's and Bros with Matt Shepard and The Huge Show later today at 3 p.m.
John Morton, look, you're going to always interview the offensive coordinator. Welcome back, by the way. X's and BrO's, Monday through Friday, 6 till 9 throughout the great state of Michigan. John Morton might want to stop talking. I mean, he says stuff that you and I say and you and I think, which to me, I mean, I respect the hell out of that at times, but there might be a better time for John Morton to just not even answer questions. Not even, I've got film to watch, guys, or keep it really simple. Here's the reason I say that. He was talking, I think was it yesterday? I think it was yesterday. And he said this about the fourth down calls. Dave Burkett wrote about this in Free Press, so credit where credit is due. The shallow crossing route by Jameson Williams, which I love that Detroit incorporates that. That's, I think, how you trying to get him in space, trying to get him with the ball in his hands as quickly as possible so he can use his speed is really important. John Morton said, yeah, it hit his hands. Remember, he dropped that one. It was, if you're moving, the line's moving left to right, Williams comes out, does a crossing route, and Jared Goff throws. It's a little bit behind him. Could have been a better pass. I think really good wide receivers make that catch. And really good quarterbacks make a better throw, too. These things happen. I thought it was a clear window. It just wasn't a good throw. But it should have been caught. I think you and I would both agree with that. John Morton says, yeah, it hit his hands. Could have been a better throw? Sure. Could have been caught? Sure. And he's caught those before. Jared's made those throws. I've coached wideouts. If it hits your hands, you catch the ball. It was a fourth down play, probably going to score. It was man-to-man. Tom Kennedy killed a guy with a block on that same play. Okay. Moving forward, what's going to happen is people are going to say, look back and say, Jameson Williams, career high 7 catches, 144 yards on Thanksgiving Day, which should cause us some trepidation right there. His career high is 7 catches. That's a problem. Anyway, instead of this is the difference between winning and losing, and this is the difference perhaps between coordinators. People are convinced right now that John Morton can't do the job. He needs to be let go by Dan Campbell. Who cares when it happens, as long as it happens, right? The sooner the better for most Lions fans. And perhaps that is the case. Dan Campbell's going to keep calling plays. Dan Quinn's going to keep calling defensive plays in Washington. Says he might do it next year, for crying out loud. But anyway, John Morton talking in that tone, even though we would all agree with it. You and I, watching that game with friends of ours and family members, and Trent was at the game, there's no doubt you turn and said, he's got to catch that ball. But is that where a coach comes out and needs to say it? Because John Morton says it, and people don't like it. Reputable coaches, Todd McClellan says that about the Red Wings, thumbs up. Tom Izzo says it about the Spartans. I'll tell you this, this is not going to continue at the free throw line. We love it. Thumbs up. Reputable coaches who get after their players say what you and I probably say during a game, or at least start thinking during the game. If they're winning championships, if they're turning out really good players, we have no problem with it. John Morton says it's execution. That's the bottom line. It's execution. That's what it was. They're the right plays called, but we didn't execute. You and I look at it as excuses. We look at it as problems. We look at it as throwing players under the bus. That's what happens. How do you fix it? Well, maybe he needs to just button it up every once in a while and not talk about it. I don't have a problem with it because I think he's right. But because he's been, quote unquote, demoted, because his play calling ability has been taken away from him, you and I think it's ridiculous. How can you do that? How can you throw your players under the bus? What will make them want to continue to play for you? Other great coaches have done that, and they've done it plenty. Bill Walsh did it to Joe Montana, who's arguably the greatest quarterback of all time. What have we learned so far from the NFL this year? What's the takeaway you've had in the National Football League? Describe it in one word. For me, it's uncertainty.
I was going to say unpredictability. Yeah.
I think the league has been unpredictable for years. I think that's what makes it great. I really do. Come on. You and I, if you were in a suicide pool with the NFL, Rams, Carolina, that would rank high. I've got friends who play in this. They rank their teams or the matchups. They rank them strongest to weakest. Guaranteed that many of them. So in other words, if there's 15 games, number 15 is your most confident pick. Okay? Guaranteed that the Rams over Carolina was really high on most people's list. And yet Carolina wins, right? Going into the season. Lamar Jackson, many people felt like last year was his best year. Should have won MVP again. Clearly the favorite in the AFC North, right? Go back and remember who you picked in the various divisions and who you picked to win playoffs or make the playoffs, I should say, and see how well you're doing today. No way did you pick New England. I don't think people in Boston picked New England. I'm not saying you would have picked the Jets. I picked the Bills. Trent picked Miami. Baltimore. Come on. I mean, of course you're going to take Baltimore. You're not taking Cleveland. Cincinnati, their defense, they didn't do anything to address the defense. And Pittsburgh's being led by a 40-year quarterback. No team in football has had their defense on the field of play more than the Pittsburgh Steelers. They've played 150 more snaps than their team's offense. That's how bad Pittsburgh is. We picked Baltimore. They're a 500 football team. Tennessee, you knew stunk. You thought Houston was really good because you're still living off C.J. Stroud's 2 years ago performance. No way did you think Indianapolis would be in the mix. And I doubt people truly believed in Jacksonville, and yet it's the Jaguars who lead that division. And I don't. You may not like Patrick Mahomes. You may not have picked Kansas City to win the division, but I doubt you picked Kansas City to be 500 in third place in their division and on the outside looking into the playoffs. Because I'm not sure how many people truly believed in Bo Nix. And it's kind of the same thing in the NFC. Even so-called national experts thought Washington might be the team to beat in the NFC. They're on the outside looking in. Detroit might be one of those teams to beat in the NFC. They're on the outside looking in. I thought Tampa would be a sneaky NFC pick. They're barely above 500 and tied with Carolina in the NFC South. And considering Matthew Stafford's back problems during training camp, my guess is most people were against the Rams winning their division. Did you really buy in on Brock Purdy? Did you really think Sam Darnold could do in Seattle what he did in Minnesota? Probably.
I did not.
Right. It's one of the beauties of the NFL, but it also, because it makes us keep watching, right? Absolutely. It's not a whole lot different than I think Major League Baseball expanding the playoffs, making another wild card team. Why? Because you have more fan bases associated with it and feeling that playoff possibility type emotion as you get closer to the end of the season. The NFL is very similar in that regard. Everybody feels like they've got, for the most part, a pretty good chance. Hell, even the next year, you'll feel that way. There'll be people in one market that has had a really bad season, New Orleans, and say, you know what? Did you think Indianapolis would be able to do what they did a year ago? This will be an example of it. You know, it'll be a little bit of a homer example. But people in New York might think, you know, we got Jackson Dart. We get healthy. We had a few pieces here or there. Who says we can't win the division? Philly might be on the decline. The Cowboys, could they really keep it up? Because they can't win in the playoffs. And Washington, they've been exposed. It gives you hope when you see so many teams that the year before struggled, or even this year has either surprised in a positive or negative way. Gives you a chance to look at your team that might be struggling a little bit more consistently and think, yes, we can be the one team that leaps into the forefront of football discussion when nobody expected it to be.
There's so much parity in the NFL, Shep. It's the one league where I don't know if you agree with this, but I feel like you can turn things around a lot quicker than you can in other sports.
It sure seems like it, doesn't it?
It does. And one of my favorite examples of this, by the way, this is a little off the beaten path, but I think it was the 2017 Jacksonville Jaguars. Remember that? They went to the AFC title game. They almost beat Brady and the Patriots to go to the Super Bowl. And then I think the years surrounding that one specific year, they weren't very good. They were average, you know. But it just goes to show that you catch lightning in a bottle one time, man. That's all you got to do. And that's what gives teams hope. Examples like that give teams hope to flip things on its head in one off season, you know, make one tweet, get lucky one time. That's all you got to do.
Yeah, it's a good point. That Jacksonville team that year won 10 games, and then the following year,
even then
in the following year, they went from 10-6 to 6-10. So they went from I don't know if I can't remember if they won the AFC South that year, but they finished last the following year.
Gotcha.
And you know, I say it ad nauseum, but you're going to have that type of change take place in the National Football League. That's the beauty of it. If I said to you right now, 2 questions: who's the best team in the league? We could have a really good debate. I'm not talking about AFC or NFC. I'm talking about overall. Okay. And I know immediately people go to New England or Denver or the Rams, and those who are against the Rams would immediately say, but they just lost to Carolina. And then you might counter and say, wait a minute, New England lost to Pittsburgh and the Raiders earlier this year.
Everyone's got losses, man. Yeah. Everyone's got losses.
Well, everyone's got bad losses.
Yeah, so my point is you can't just be in a moment like that. Like I do believe it matters when you lose to a team or when you beat a team.
I do too.
Like
absolutely,
beating the Bears in week 2 is not equal to if they were to beat the Bears in week 18. Of course,
100%.
But
100%. Denver losing to Indianapolis earlier this year and the Chargers. They lost back-to-back games, by the way. They were 1-2 to start the year. Denver lost to Indianapolis, which at the time you would have thought, that's a horrible loss. Indianapolis turns out to be a pretty decent team.
Yep.
Now their quarterback's playing with a broken bone in his leg, but he's still playing. It's a team that just a couple of weeks ago was the number 1 seed in the AFC. So it turns out that that's not that bad of a loss. But at the time, you thought it was terrible. Okay? So the beauty of what this league is giving us right now is the debates that you and I can have on who's the best. The other thing that you're seeing, and I said this last night while watching the game in the first half, because New England was moving the ball up and down on the Giants. If there's one team that is record-wise been horrible this year, that gleans the most hope for next season, would you buy the Giants? They feel like they've got a quarterback. They've got a good defensive line. Their best wide receiver has been out all season, so he'll be back. That'll help them.
They're going to have a new regime coming in.
They're going to have a new regime coming in. Who that is, I don't know, but they're still going to have a new could you make the case that of the bad teams, the Jets, the Browns, the Titans, the Saints, the Giants, the Raiders, maybe Arizona. I think they're a long way away because I've never been a Kyler Murray guy. That the Giants could see the most positive light
of the 6 you mentioned. I'll leave Arizona out. Of the 6 you mentioned to begin with, I think, the Giants have to be on top of that list. I think.
I would think so too. Now, you said a new regime. They haven't fired their general manager.
No. New coach. My bad. Yes, coach.
Yeah. I just want people to understand that.
Yes, thank you.
Phone number on the Meyer hotline is 866-838-4843. Text us at Sports Radio 21,000. And a reminder, speaking of football, we want you to go to the Lions and the Cowboys game. It's Thursday night, Ford Field, Thursday night football. Third game in 12 days for the Lions.
And you could win free tickets, folks. Free.
You can win free tickets We're going to make you eligible. All you have to do is text the word Ferris, Ferris, to 21,000, and you're involved. All right. And you're immediately part of the group. And then we will pull the winner Thursday morning, 8:35 here on X's and Bros. So we're all over that. We hope you are too. We want you to get the chance to go down there. Should be, you would hope, okay. It's a little concerning because Dallas's defensive line, to be honest with you. And I'm not sure Detroit's going to be able to run the football very well. But if they can give Jared Goff time, can they match score for score with Dallas? Dallas is going to score the ball. You know that, right? I mean, we'll talk more of this on Thursday for sure. And tomorrow, we'll try to get somebody from Dallas on, talk a little bit about what the Cowboys have done to role reversal, 3 straight wins, feeling confident. It's completely different, I would guess, for Dallas and Detroit. Right now, there is a lot of question marks surrounding the Lions. The only question mark about Dallas, considering how well they've played, is are they going to make the playoffs? Or where was this earlier in the year? Okay. There were people I knew who said, you know what, Dak Prescott won't even survive. They're going to go to a backup quarterback. Really just sign the long term. Anyway, we want you to go Ferris, text Ferris 21,000, and you'll be included and eligible to go see the Lions and the Cowboys Thursday night, courtesy of our friends at Ferris Coffee and the Michigan Sports Network. When we come back, we will dive into Matt Fitzgerald being the new head football coach at Michigan State University. We'll do that with a former Spartan tight end, Mitch Lyons. We'll do it with Fred Heumann at 8:18. Fred Heumann has a great pulse on how the locals feel about Matt Fitzgerald being the new head coach there. And then Jim Comparoni, Spartan Mag and On3.com, joins us at 8:35 here on X's and Bros on a Tullymore Tuesday.
Mitch Lyons here, founder of Mitch Lyons Wealth, where we create your best game plan to protect, grow, and win retirement. I'm here with Tiger legend Kirk Gibson, who we are proud to support and partner with on the newly opened Kirk Gibson Center for Parkinson's Wellness.
Thanks, Mitch. We appreciate your support, and we are excited to have recently opened the center in Farmington Hills. It provides exercise therapy and educational programs that are helping the Parkinson's community, just like Mitch Lyons Wealth helps improve the quality for their clients' retirements. This center helps improve the quality of life for people with Parkinson's.
And Gibby, the best part of all is that access to the center is available to the Parkinson's community free of charge, right?
That's right, absolutely free of charge for people with Parkinson's and their care partners.
You hit a couple of the most famous home runs in Major League history, Gibby, but I feel that your greatest hit will be the positive impact the Kirk Gibson Center is making in the fight against Parkinson's.
Mitch, since my diagnosis, I get up every day and focus on winning that day. This center encourages others to do the same.
Awesome, Gibby. To learn more, go to kirkgibsoncenter.org.
It's time to go in the huddle with Tim Stout.
It's a new day to celebrate and be free. It's a new day full of excitement because it's a new day for winning only at Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort. It's a new day only at SoaringEagleCasino.com. Another Michigan State football season has come to an end, but the offseason is obviously going to be so noteworthy, as we know. Michigan State now getting rid of Jonathan Smith after 2 years and a 9-15 record if you don't count the vacated victories. Was it a surprise? Probably not. The new athletic director, Jay Batt, and President Kevin Guskowitz, they absolutely wanted to get football turned around. The Spartans finishing with a 4-8 record, 1-8 in the Big Ten after the final win over Maryland, 38-28 this last Saturday, but that did little to give Jonathan Smith a chance at year number 3. He's got a $33 million buyout that Michigan State must face moving forward into 2026.
Make every second count inside the $3,360,000 Mega Cash Cube at Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort. Every Friday and Saturday in December from 5 p.m. to 11 p.m. 2 lucky winners will be drawn every hour to step into the Cash Cube. Once the bills start flying, it's game on. Grab as much cash as you can before the clock hits 0. $30,000 in cash is swirling around, and whatever you can grab is yours. Only at Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort. Your getaway reimagined. Visit SoaringEagleCasino.com for complete rules and details.
Make sure you listen weekly to our Moving Ferris Forward interviews with Ferris President Bill Pink and other leaders who are moving Ferris forward. Find out more about Big Rapids and Ferris and what they have to offer at ferris.edu.
Save a good deal more this holiday season with Meyer brand hot deals on all your baking needs. Like Meyer brand all-purpose flour for only $2.19 and pure granulated sugar for $2.89. Save on Meyer brand light brown sugar, confectioner's powdered sugar, heavy whipping cream, and whipped topping. All just $1.99 each. And 12 packs of Meyer brand candy canes are $1.79. Shopping for holiday baking essentials is a good deal better at Meyer. Exclusions apply. See all deals in the Meyer app.
The Freddie the Pizza Man Foundation is dedicated to providing support to families and Michigan schools touched by autism. We invite you to join us in supporting these families and schools by making a donation at freddythepizzaman.com. With your donation, you can help provide essential resources that can make a real impact. Visit freddythepizzaman.com to make a donation and to learn more about the foundation's mission. That's FREDI, thepizzaman.com. Together, we can make a difference.
Thanks for listening to X's and Bros with Matt Shepard, only on the Michigan Sports Network.
Hey, Lions fans, this is Matt Shepard, host of X's and Bros, 6 till 9 each morning. Thursday, I'll be broadcasting live from the Meyer location in Rivertown Market in Detroit with my friends at Ferris Coffee, the official coffee maker of your Detroit Lions. Together, the Michigan Sports Network and Ferris Coffee want to send you to the big game Thursday night against the Dallas Cowboys. Listen to X's and Bros and The Huge Show to earn your chance at a pair of tickets. Hear the Lions roar on Thursday Night Football with Ferris Coffee and the Michigan Sports Network.
All right, final hour of the program, and we're brought to you this hour by Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort. The big news in the state of Michigan is that Pat Fitzgerald is the new head coach of Michigan State University football. He inherits a program that went 4-8 a year ago, or this past season, just one Big Ten win. He is a winner for sure, and he did it at a really difficult place where you were asked to win at Northwestern. Mitch Lyons, former Spartan, great, and former tight end in the NFL, Falcons and Steelers. Mitch Lyons usually joins us on Mondays at 7:18 for Mondays with Mitch, but we wanted to bring him on because of his unique perspective on what Pat Fitzgerald can bring and what the process is for Michigan State moving forward. And he joins us here on X's and Bros. Mitch, thanks again for 2 days in a row. Appreciate it very much. First of all, your reaction when you find out that Michigan State has indeed signed their new head coach to a reported 5-year deal.
Yeah, my initial reaction was of happiness. You know, I think it's a good fit. I think it's a good fit culturally, kind of what he brings to the table in terms of his personality, his grit, his toughness, kind of how he was as a player, how he was as a coach. And like you said, he was doing it, winning games, playing in bowl games, really with his hands tied behind his back with the academic, situation he had to deal with at Northwestern, trying to get guys in there. And if anyone's ever been to Ryan Field, I mean, you're not taking a recruit to Ryan Field and expecting them to want to go play for Northwestern. So he did it with a lot less resources than he's going to have at his disposal at Michigan State. So I think it's a good fit.
What's his selling point, do you think, on himself and his football program?
I think a good thing for fans to do would be to go watch ESPN College Game Day podcast that he was just on a few weeks ago. And he kind of maps out what he's been doing these last 3 years. I know that's a pushback from some people. He's been out of the game. He doesn't understand this era. That's hogwash. This guy, as he said, I believe not to paraphrase what he said, but he said he basically got a PhD in the new era over the last 2-3 years. Just by talking to people around the country and how they're handling it, seeing the good, seeing the bad, seeing how it's done in this new era, because it is a new era. It's not like it was 5 years ago, obviously. And I think he's got a very unique perspective on it, having stepped away for a minute and looked at it from the outside. And his selling point is him. I mean, he's a no-nonsense Midwestern kind of guy, and I think kids are going to gravitate towards that. And I think he understands the business side of this, that you can't get too emotional. You've got to make roster decisions like it's pro football, because in reality it is. And I think for all the fans out there that said, oh, he's a retread, and gosh, he didn't win at Northwestern, and he ended there in a bad note with a scandal and all that. I mean, it's great to think, oh, we should have gone out and got the next Cignetti, right? Mm-hmm. But if Indiana knew, and everybody knew that Cignetti was the next Cignetti, he would have been hired a long time ago, right?
Right.
And I don't think this program was in a position to go take a flyer on an unknown. Mm-hmm. They had to go for somebody that was a known. And I think we need to be realistic. I don't think you're getting the Lane Kiffins of the world to come to Michigan State right now, right? So I think Pat Fitzgerald's a great hire. I think he's got a lot to sell for this program.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I do think at times Michigan State sells itself a little short in who they think they can get and should get, but that's a debate for another day. The next move is December 12th. The Board of Trustees needs to vote on this. How does that process work?
Basically, the AD and the president, give their reasoning behind it, and anybody has any issues with that, they can raise them. And who knows? Maybe there might be a board member that raises their hand about his past and has reservations about the scandal or whatnot. We'll see. You never know with the board. It's I was on the inside of those walls for a number of years, and it can be crazy at times. So who knows? But it's generally at this point, I mean, it's been discussed and whatnot. And I would think it'd be a rubber stamp at that point.
It's a fair question. It will come up. It should come up. They just want to be convinced of the reasoning before it, and that was the quote-unquote scandal at Northwestern. People also need to understand that Pat Fitzgerald won a lawsuit against Northwestern. So there is some room there to understand why he may not have necessarily been aware of what was taking place. And let's face it, and I'm not trying to demean or minimize the actions that took place while he was in charge there. There's a lot of coaches who have not been able to patrol their programs and still gotten opportunities. Hi, Rick Pitino, right? Hi, Jim Harbaugh. Things like that have happened before, and I'm not condoning it by any stretch. but those things have happened and others have learned from it. He deserves the opportunity to learn from it too, because of the guy who he is.
100%.
Yeah, I mean that's
I think
the way
we're all
we're.
entitled to second chances, and if we weren't, I think we're all hosed.
Well, we're also all hypocrites.
I don't think he was risking his Big Ten coaching position by letting shenanigans go on like hazing. I don't think there's any question. I think he proved that in the lawsuit that he had no knowledge of that until it was disclosed, and he wasn't given the opportunity to address it at that point.
Yeah, we're all going to be hypocrites too if we don't believe in second chances. Okay, here's what somebody did ask me yesterday, and I think it's a fair point. You were recruited by a lot of different schools when you were in high school. When a coach comes into your living room and is talking to mom and dad and trying to get you to come here, what's he say to convince them, do you think, that Michigan State, under his guidance, is the right place for that teenager?
Well, I think he's going to appeal to a certain kind of kid and a certain kind of family, right? Again, it's a business, but on the other hand, you can't go out and get every highest priced kid that wants, millions of dollars coming out of high school or through the transfer portal. Mm-hmm. You need to target some kids that you think are your kind of kids that appreciate the fact that, hey, you're going to have to work for it. He gets into this in that interview, which I appreciate. It was like, hey, having honest discussions with kids and saying, hey, this is what we have for you. You're not the all-American linebacker we thought you were yet. If you play more, and he says, hey, if you play more, you're probably going to get more money. If you're getting more money, it means you're playing better. And if you're playing better, you're probably going to have a better chance to, play on Sundays. So it's kind of the American dream, right? The better you do, the more you get paid. And I think as long as you're upfront with people, it's not going to appeal to everybody. Some kids are just going to want the handout and not have to earn it maybe. But, I think he's being a realist, and that realistic, pragmatic approach, I think, will sell to a lot of families.
Former Michigan State, Pittsburgh Steelers, and Atlanta Falcons tight end Mitch Lyons joining us here on X's and Bros, MitchLyonsWealth.com. Check it out today on the website, but more for his football intel than his financial intel here on this Tullymore Tuesday. When you see the landscape of college football, and you know that, and you've said this on our show for a long time, Michigan State needs to get a little bit more up to speed. How convinced are you? And what makes you convinced that your school is ready to step forward and try to compete a little bit more financially with some of the other schools in the conference?
Well, I don't think Pat Fitzgerald's taken this job, honestly, if he doesn't have the commitment of the AD and the president to increase the funding. So this is Jay Batt's first swing of the bat at hiring, right? Mm-hmm. He came in after Jonathan Smith. He's had some time, he's had a little runway here to get things behind the scenes set up. And I suspect we're going to hear something here in the near future about what that level of funding is going to entail. They announced Fitzgerald yesterday. I want to believe that somewhere in the near future we're going to get some details as to what that financing looks like and what kind of cards Pat Fitzgerald's able to play with at the table, because this wouldn't have been his only option. Let's be honest. He's a known commodity. I think there's a lot of schools that would have been itching to get the opportunity to talk with him. And so I don't think he just went with the first person that threw a job offer his way. I think he wanted some commitment. And again, he understands this realm. He knows this new era. He knows what he needs. And I don't think he's taking his job unless he feels he has that from Jay Batt and President Guskowitz.
Yeah, one of the things I really like about the hire is I think he can hit the ground running. I think he's got a really good idea of who his staff is going to include. I think he knows the areas that he wants to recruit, and I think he's got the right people in place to recruit those areas to make a quick impact on Michigan State University. Thanks very much. Always appreciate it, Mitch. Good stuff, as always.
All right,
appreciate the insight. Have a great rest of your week. That's Mitch Lyons, MitchLyonsWealth.com, joining us here on X's and Bros to talk a little bit about Pat Fitzgerald and the hiring there. When we come back, a little bit more of a local feel. Fred Human, outstanding TV sports anchor on the ILX TV there in Lansing, will join us. And then at 8:35, Jim Camperoni will join us from Spartan Mag and On3.com. All this with Pat Fitzgerald being the new head coach at Michigan State University on X's and Bros.
It's a New Year's Eve bingo bash at Soaring Eagle Casino. Close the books on 2025 and win big prizes, including free bingo for a year, Logoed champagne glasses stuffed with $500 cash. Concert tickets, bingo baskets, and more. Tickets just $200 on sale now at etix.com. Come on down and win big. It's New Year's Eve at the Soaring Eagle Bingo Hall. Main session at 1:30, early bird at noon. Must be 18. Rules at SoaringEagleCasino.com.
Save a good deal more this holiday season with Meyer brand hot deals on all your baking needs. Like Meyer brand all-purpose flour for only $2.19 and pure granulated sugar for $2.89. Save on Meyer brand light brown sugar, confectioner's powdered sugar, heavy whipping cream, and whipped topping. All just $1.99 each. And 12 packs of Meyer brand candy canes are $1.79. Shopping for holiday baking essentials is a good deal better at Meyer. Exclusions apply. See all deals in the Meyer app.
Hey, Lions fans, this is Matt Shepard, host of X's and BrO's 6 till 9 each morning. Thursday, I'll be broadcasting live from the Meyer location in Rivertown Market in Detroit with my friends at Ferris Coffee, the official coffee maker of your Detroit Lions. Together, the Michigan Sports Network and Ferris Coffee want to send you to the big game Thursday night against the Dallas Cowboys. Listen to X's and BrO's and The Huge Show to earn your chance at a pair of tickets. Hear the Lions roar on Thursday Night Football with Ferris Coffee and the Michigan Sports Network.
Van Andel Institute Purple Community is a grassroots fundraising network powered by the dedicated volunteers who support VAI's mission to improve human health now and in the future. When you raise funds through the Van Andel Institute Purple Community, 100% of the proceeds go directly to the Institute's research into diseases like cancer and Parkinson's, as well as VAI's science education programs. Learn how you can get involved at purplecommunity.org.
You're listening to X's and BrO's with Matt Shepard on the Michigan Sports Network. And if you missed any of today's show, be sure to check out our podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or anywhere you find your podcasts to find the greatest hits from every day's show.
Coming up later today at 3 on The Huge Show on the Michigan Sports Network, I'll deliver huge opinions on everything you're talking about.
Welcome back. X's and Bros, Monday through Friday, 6 until 9. Throughout the great state of Michigan, we are brought to you this hour by our friends at Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort. Jim Comparoni will join us at the bottom of the hour, 8:35, to talk more about Michigan State hiring Pat Fitzgerald, who vows to, quote unquote, restore tradition in the Michigan State football program. It's reported that it's a 5-year contract with Michigan State. And athletic director Jay Batt came out, issued a statement saying that today marks the beginning of a new era for Michigan State football. The Pat Fitzgerald is widely recognized as an exceptional football coach whose teams play with extreme toughness and grit and demonstrate improvement and maximize potential. All that is true. And I think what we view, we take certain programs, I think, and certain players and certain coaches associated with those players, and we label them, sometimes unfairly and sometimes very appropriately. For example, Ohio State is viewed as a very gifted offensive team traditionally because the quarterbacks they've had come through there and because of the great wide receivers. LSU is another example of that, right? They've had really good quarterbacks over the years, notwithstanding this year. Garrett Nussmeier has not been all that great. And some of the great wide receivers that have come through there. Michigan State's history, their tradition, has been what? It has embodied toughness and constant, what we think is improvement. I was going to use the word grit, but that word is oftentimes overused in football in the state of Michigan these days because of the Lions, but very appropriate at times. They have been oftentimes built differently. Michigan State has been built on hard-nosed defense, big, strong dudes up front, and hard-hitting defensive players. That's what Pat Fitzgerald had to mold Northwestern into. Let's face it, he was a badass when he was a linebacker at Northwestern. He was. I mean, that's why he was, as regaled as he was at Northwestern. One of the better players that program's ever churned out. I don't care if he played in the NFL or not. It doesn't matter. I mean, how good he was as a player. Not every really good player in college goes on to play in the NFL. To me, that doesn't matter. It's how you, at the collegiate level, it's how you played when you were in college and now how he's coaching. All right. He tries to bring teams on or mold the teams into similar to how he played, into his image.
And as a player, sometimes that can really appeal to you, right?
I think so.
As a recruit. Not to everyone, but I think most football players. Mitch Lyons said it yesterday on our Mondays with Mitch chat. If you missed it, go check it out on our podcast. But he said, number one thing I want in a coach is a guy who played the game. I don't think every football player would say that, but Mitch Lyons sure did.
Yeah, I don't. To me, I don't know how important is that. I don't know. I mean, do you remember
examples of guys who did the game?
Yeah, do you remember Mark D'Antonio's career? Probably not. But you remember him as a coach, right? Tom Izzo, it's not like Tom Izzo was this great college basketball player at Northern Michigan. But they learn, right? There's certain things that they take from it. To your point, Pat Fitzgerald, look, he was a 2-time All-American. He won the Nagurski Award twice at the collegiate level. And he was a Chuck Bednarik Award winner twice at the collegiate level. 2-time Big Ten Defensive Player of the Year. He can flat out play. Does that automatically make him a really good coach? No. Do you think Deion Sanders is a really good coach? I don't. Okay. Maybe you might prove me wrong, but I don't. We'll see. Let's see what happens here. And my hope is that you get a guy like Pat Fitzgerald who comes in and reestablishes, like there's that phrase, you've got to, rebuild the culture. I don't know if that's necessarily fair in this situation. When you look at it and you think to yourself, Michigan State, like when I think of rebuilding a culture, I think a team's broken or something has to drastically change. Do you think Michigan State and Pat Fitzgerald is going to have to drastically change what's going on there right now? Now, they've got some other issues with players. Marsh is going to leave. At least he's opening up to the portal. That's the latest. Okay, so he's going to leave. I don't think the quarterback who comes out on social media and says, I 1,000% disagree with this move after Jonathan Smith was fired, doesn't endear himself to a new coach. So perhaps Pat Fitzgerald is, he's going to try his best to retain some talent, and he's going to do his very best to improve the talent. The big question would be, and we'll ask this of Jim Comparoni at 8:35, is this team talented enough to squeeze more than 4 wins out of it? Was this team underachieving because of its coaching or underachieving because of its talent or the lack thereof? I think those are fair questions, and those will be asked, and we'll see how that works. I think it's a good move. And look, I'm not going to sit here and pat myself on the back and say, I'm the one who told you this. But about 3 weeks ago, this is something we said. Let's bring in our Fred Human. He's an award-winning anchor, and he's in the Central Michigan Sports Broadcasting Hall of Fame, and he joins us here and he's got a really good pulse. Fred, thanks for taking time, my friend. Let me ask you what you think the reaction overall is from people in Lansing and East Lansing and the Spartan people who love Michigan State athletics. What's the overall feel?
Well, hard to say. I think they were thirsty, Matt, for a change. So in that regard, I think it's positive. I don't think there was really much pulse for football at all under Jonathan Smith here in year number 2. It's very, very odd after 2 years to kind of give up on a coach like that, but I don't think there was any buzz for football, and I never thought they were going to keep him. I think the UCLA loss kind of sealed his fate. I really believe that's when they started looking and they said, this just isn't working. Obviously, they've been talking, to this coach for a while now. This doesn't happen overnight. Yeah. So this was in the plan. I think some people, are going to be a little bit stuck on the hazing thing. I say he's been clear to that. He actually got a settlement out of that. Right. So I don't think that's a huge deal. Probably a bigger deal than that is the fact that he lost 20 games his last 2 years of coaching. And I'm sure, some will be stuck on that. But I think he's a Midwest guy. I think he's a Big Ten guy. I think he's got a lot of contacts. I think he'll be a good recruiter. I know he'll have great discipline. So I like the hire. I really do. And I wasn't crazy about the last few hires at Michigan State. I wasn't crazy about the Jonathan Smith hire. I was not crazy ever about the Mel Tucker hire. And I think they nailed this one. I think this is a good hire. Time will tell. We shall see. Patience is thin here. They're tired of losing. They've had 4 straight losing seasons. And I think that's part of why he's brought in is to get the culture back here. So we'll see. But I think it's a good hire.
How quickly do you think he could turn it around?
Well, I think in these days of the portal, as everyone has always said, I don't think it takes forever. Yeah. I mean, it used to be where you got a 5-year plan. Now nobody gets 5 years. In fact, Tom Izzo said yesterday at his press conference, he said he used to get 6 years, and now you get 6 weeks. Yeah. And that's an exaggeration, but it's just I don't think it takes forever. I think Michigan State has to. Spartan fans don't want to hear this. I don't think they can. Even Mark D'Antonio did compete with the big boys and had this team into a couple of college football playoffs. But I don't think competing with Michigan and Ohio State, and again, nobody here wants to hear this, I don't think that's going to happen real soon. But I think you can be the next tier, if you know what I mean. Yeah. You can be the Penn State, the Iowa, the team that's, constantly in it, is very competitive, and once in a while sneaks in a championship. To me, and you're never going to get a Spartan fan to admit this, but to me, that should be the goal. Be who you are and get back in the circus, so to speak.
Yeah.
Because they just have not been competitive at all, and that's been an embarrassment to Michigan State. 4 straight losing seasons.
Yeah, he can do that though.
At all, and I don't think there was any confidence that they were going to get there under Jonathan Smith. And I think in the end, that's what they realized is, can we get there with this guy? And the answer was no.
Okay, good enough. Thanks, Fred, for the insight. Sorry it's such a short notice, but we appreciate you getting up early. You always make the show better. Have a great day, my friend.
No problem. Thanks, Matt. Take care.
All right, you bet. Fred Human, WILX TV. Follow him on Twitter at Uncle Fred 6. We're back with Jim Comparoni after this.
Huge here for Van Andel Institute Purple Community. Now, they're a grassroots fundraising network powered by the volunteers who support VAI's mission to improve health now and in the future. Learn more at purplecommunity.org.
The Michigan Sports Network is your exclusive home for X's and Bros with Matt Shepard and The Huge Show later today at 3 p.m.
35 after the hour on this Tullymore Tuesday. Welcome back, X's and Bros, Monday through Friday, 6 until 9 throughout the great state of Michigan. It's streaming live on X, on Facebook, and on YouTube. I don't think there's anybody who covers Michigan State athletics better than Jim Comparoni. He does it for Spartan Mag and on3.com, and he joins us here after a very, very busy way to track this Pat Fitzgerald hiring for Michigan State football. Jim, we appreciate it as always, because I know a lot of people are tugging at you, want your expertise, and for good reason. Your thoughts on Pat Fitzgerald fitting in at Michigan State?
Yeah, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. Certainly a big news item for Michigan State. Anytime in the state of Michigan when Michigan State or Michigan hires a new coach in the power sports, it's newsworthy. But this one, I think, raised some eyebrows nationwide. Nationwide, everybody was focused on and Lane Kiffin. What's Florida going to do? LSU eventually getting Kiffin, and of course, just Arkansas, Auburn, Oklahoma State, everybody else. And a lot of those schools, aside from LSU getting Lane Kiffin, the other schools really. I don't want to say they've ended up with mid-major coaches, from the group of 5, group of 6, good coaches who've had a couple of good years, really good years at that level. There's just not a lot of coaches out there that have won that are available. A lot of other universities were locking down coaches that had recent success, like Vanderbilt with Clark Lee and a few others, Drinkwitz, Missouri. But Fitzgerald was a guy who has not been in coaching for 2 years, but has had success. And as you know, in previous decades, really eyebrow-raising success at Northwestern. Very hard to win at Northwestern. And, he had won 9 or 10 games multiple times there at Northwestern. Very difficult to do. Lost a lot of games at times also, because that's going to happen at Northwestern. Nationwide, maybe some college football fans took their eyes off of Fitzgerald a little bit. But all of a sudden, Michigan State makes a coaching change at the end of the season. Might have surprised some people nationwide. And then within 24 hours, Fitzgerald coming in and returning to the Big Ten, where he's had 5 seasons of top 25 football and other winning seasons at Michigan State. And a lot of people saying, that's an interesting marriage. That looks like a good fit. And we can talk a little bit more about what made Fitzgerald attracted at Michigan State and how this went down. But I think starting nationally, I think it turns some heads. People like Paul Feinbaum and some others, people whose opinions I don't always agree with, but it was an eyebrow raiser after a month of everyone else nationally focusing on mid-major coaches in the Southeastern Conference.
When do you think the writing was on the wall for Jonathan Smith?
It was late. President Kevin Guskowitz and others were giving Jonathan Smith a lot of opportunities to win his way out of this. And I got to tell you, they led Iowa, by 10 points with 3 minutes to go, whatever it was. I've forgotten already. They were in control of the Minnesota game. Both of those got away in November. You win those 2 games in 5, and you're 5-7. I think he keeps his job. They were giving Penn State a pretty good game until they finally wore down because the offense couldn't move. They were, as late as, heading into the Penn State game in week 10 or so, there was a meeting at the Cowles house, a reception at the Cowles house. The Cowles house is where the president of the university lives and resides. It's a nice old house on campus. And it's my understanding a lot of high-ranking donors were there. And I've spoken to some people that were there, or people that, tertiary sources that knew people that were there. And all of those major donors left the house that day after listening to Jay Batt speak and Guskowitz speak, saying to themselves, they're not going to fire Smith. They like Smith. They told us that Smith had some things that were going against him early on. NIL was not well organized at Michigan State. he was led to believe that it would be, and he was kind of hamstrung in the first year and a half.
Mm-hmm.
And people I talked to, they said, hey, they're not going to fire him. But yeah, I was at Kyle's house, or I know people that were there. They were sympathetic towards Smith. They like him as a person. They want to do right by him.
Mm-hmm.
So he was given every chance to succeed that way. There were leanings that it was going to be that way, but it was not. It was not 75-25 or 90-10 that it was bound to happen. That's why it happened late. Also, a phrase that I heard from insiders, something that Guskowitz often said, is that he wanted to do right by Jonathan Smith. They respected Jonathan Smith as a person, and they did not want to serve him the indignity of firing him within the season. Wanted to give him a chance to finish the season with these young men that he's been coaching. Firing a coach in year 2 is early. I mean, that's crazy early. Maybe not so crazy in this day and age when everything's expedited so badly. But they gave him every opportunity. And in the end, you never heard Jonathan Smith complain publicly. Never really sensed any rancor from him.
Yeah.
So these things can get ugly sometimes, but I don't think this one did. But when did they start? I can't remember your original question. When did it start going away? Is that what you're
Yeah.
asking?
When did you get a sense that the writing was on the wall? I thought it was the UCLA game, but obviously it was later than that.
Yes, that's when he certainly lost the lion's share of the fan base, the critical mass of fan support. That's when a lot of people were like, "This is not going to work. This is stalled in a bad way." And that was a terrible loss. Not only did they lose convincingly on the scoreboard, but the sideline demeanor, not only of Jonathan Smith, but the players, they were as listless and they seemed as disengaged as you will ever see in a college football game. It was striking. And a lot of people were like, the players have taken on the personality of the head coach. And I think that was accurate for that game. And Michigan State botched they went for it on 4th down in their own territory, and they were stopped and had a special teams gaffe, one of many this season, and ended up not being competitive on the scoreboard. It looked to me like there were some players on defense that were just kind of quit. But I thought the rest of the season was just going to be a nightmare. They did continue to lose all but one of the remaining seasons, but to their credit, they competed favorably and really did not win on the scoreboard, but they were the better team against Iowa and Minnesota.
Yeah.
And Michigan State went into those stadiums and caused the home fans to boo Minnesota, caused the home fans to boo Iowa. Yet this was Michigan State on an 8-game losing streak with a coach about to get fired in year number 2. So they kept playing and played hard. To Smith's credit, he got them to rally. And, the players, I talked to some players on Sunday, they thought that they were out of the woods. They thought that Smith was out of the woods. They thought if he was going to get fired, it was going to be earlier in the year. They thought since they finished the season with him that he had survived. And they were surprised. This was quiet enough coming down the stretch that the players were saddened and surprised by this. But it all started to turn with that UCLA game, which amplified a lot of the fan apathy that it started to grow, or it increased the apathy that it started to grow in year 1, rightly or wrongly, because of Smith's sideline demeanor, which is very stoic, and a lot of that bothered a lot of fans. Just to see the coach showing a different form of leadership, and you combine that with a lot of losses, and it never resonated.
Yeah, it's really too bad because, emotion can be shown in so many different ways. Not everybody has to be, Brian Kelly on the sideline. Jim Comparoni joining us. He's the publisher of SpartanMag.com and a participant in On3.com as well, covering Michigan State football and basketball. Follow him on Twitter at Jim Comparoni. When you think about Pat Fitzgerald, I know a lot of people will look at the what happened at Northwestern, the quote unquote scandal. And I've said this before, there's a lot of coaches who have gone through scandals, survived them, and people need to realize that Pat Fitzgerald won a lawsuit in regards to that. But from a football side of things, I think it's a home run hire. What do you think he can do and will provide Michigan State that Jonathan Smith couldn't?
A lot of times when there's a coaching change in college football, presidents, athletic directors, fans, they're thirsty for the opposite of what they fired. If you have an offensive coach and he struggles, there's a propensity to go out and find a defensive coach. And these are things that Lee Corso's talked about a lot in the past, and Jerry DiNardo.
Yeah.
So Michigan State had a stoic, kind of emotionless Jonathan Smith, good man. And he said that I've heard from others in the football building that he wanted to be stoic on the sideline because he did not think that it would be positive for the coach to be too chaotic. Mm-hmm. And he wanted to just have a showing that was unchaotic. Well, it ended up losing faith from the fans. And I think he would have gotten a third year if he'd have been a little more conventional in that way. Mm-hmm. But you bring in Pat Fitzgerald, he is the opposite of that. He is a rah guy, program guy. I can tell you that there's Michigan State fans, and I've seen this posted on our message board at SpartanMag.com. I've heard it from friends. They noticed and they were put off by the fact that Jonathan Smith never ever said go green. Just something as simple as that. And you don't want a coach to be something that he's not and fake anything. And that's not who he is. That's fine. I think he can have success elsewhere if he has more time. And I'm not sure that's possible in this day and age. But he's a good coach, football mind, and all those things. Fitzgerald's going to come in. He's going to wear the Michigan State stuff. He's going to say go green. He's going to be fired up. He might accidentally say go Cats once or twice. But he's going to be rah program guy. Yeah. He and Izzo are going to be a great tag team, I think. Mm-hmm. They're similar in a lot of ways. He's rah kind of corny Michigan State. It's going to be and fans are going to be. I think they're going to be excited by that. Meanwhile, he's a Midwestern linebacker toughness coach that also will resonate. And those Northwestern teams, solid, efficient, very few penalties, always got the best out of his players. The talent level of the roster fluctuated. It was hard to get good and stay good at Northwestern. But firstly, he's going to be a rah guy, and these fans are going to be excited about that. Press conferences today at 3. And people talk about winning the press conference. I think he'll win the press conference.
What will he have to do, first and foremost, at Michigan State? And can he win? Like, did they lose this season because of coaching or talent? How much can Pat Fitzgerald retain? How much do you think he needs to retain?
Yeah, Michigan State finished 4-8. I did not think they were at a talent deficit against Minnesota or Iowa or Nebraska. Mm-hmm. I think they were right there, could have won those games. And then what happened with UCLA, play that game again. I mean, UCLA was the better team that day. If they caught them later in the year, might that one have been differently. Anyway, I mentioned this on some other shows. I think talent-wise, Michigan State, they went, 1-8, bad record, near the bottom of the Big Ten. But in terms of performance, lost games by double digits earlier in the year. They were blown out repeatedly last year. But this year, the irony is, toward the end of the year, they're playing some of the better football of the 24 games that Smith coached. Mm-hmm. And I group Michigan State right now, talent-wise, they're in the middle of the Big Ten. Even though they went 1-8, I think they're in the middle. And kind of what I call the Norris division.
Okay.
The Big Ten is right there in the middle with Iowa, Minnesota, Nebraska. I think talent is comparable to those schools, UCLA, Wisconsin, Northwestern. They're not down there with Maryland and Purdue, although the record says they are. They're competitive in the middle with a team that talent-wise had trouble matching up with some teams. And then when they got into some of these games with a chance to win, like Iowa and Minnesota, then we saw that they did not know how to win at the end. And there were some coaching blunders at the end that contributed to that. The coaching blunders were not as apparent when they were getting blown out. Mm-hmm. That's not a good thing. But loose screws and special teams and other things did not have a 4-minute offense that was operational to protect a lead. So the talent level is not terrible. It's not an 0-8 talent level. Mm-hmm. If you can keep your talent. Back in the old days, when you hired a new coach, some of the phraseology is, okay, is the cupboard bare? What kind of cupboard do they have? When Mark D'Antonio was hired, they had Brian Hoyer, an NFL quarterback that he inherited. The cupboard was pretty good, and he started winning right away. Nowadays, transfer portal, you don't have a cupboard. That thing is heading out the door unless you stop them at the door. Signetti in Indiana, one of the great things he did, he arrived at Bloomington and he captured the imagination and interest of the players. And they had very few players leave. And everybody knows he brought in 14 real good ones from James Madison, including about 3 NFL players. Right. And then their NIL was ready to go. And they went out and plugged in with quarterbacks, did a great job. Here at Michigan State, Fitzgerald is meeting with the players today. And he's going to have to really capture their hearts and minds and get those guys to stay. A lot of those players are loyal to Jonathan Smith and some of the assistant coaches. For example, defensive line coach Langi Suaionoa, good defensive line coach, good recruiter. If he goes somewhere, if he gets hired as D-line coach at UCLA, 7 or 8 players whom he required, they'll be going with him. So first things first, Fitzgerald has to throw his arms around this roster and keep as much talent as he can. Secondly, signing day is tomorrow. That's another thing that's different. And the old signing day was in February, and you had 4 weeks to put together a class, 5 weeks, 6 weeks. Now you get 2 days. So he's been on that one. Cade Kaufman, the excellent quarterback from East Kentwood High School out in West Michigan. He's a 4-star. Lane Kiffin offered him at Ole Miss when Kiffin was there. Excellent, really underrated in-state talent. He announced yesterday that he's signed with Michigan State. He's going to sign. That's a good one. So that's the first things first. Secondly, unlike Signetti, Fitzgerald is not a sitting head coach. So he does not have 14 players to bring with him from his previous stop. So he does not have that. So it's going to be a long uphill battle. But first things first, keep this roster, recruit this class, see what you can find in the portal. I suspect he's going to keep a lot of the staff members in place in terms of the portal evaluation and scouting staff, because he doesn't have a staff. That work is already being done. And the people that Smith had that evaluated the portal, I think you keep those guys for another year and use them. So it's not going to be easy, but there's going to be new enthusiasm.
Jim, every time we have you on, we learn something. And I can't thank you enough. People who love football, love basketball at the collegiate level, whether it's Michigan State or not, sign up Spartan Mag today, because you're going to learn a lot. You're going to enjoy reading what Jim has to offer and the expertise that he provides. Keep up the great work, my friend. We'll see you soon. Enjoy the press conference today. Keep asking those tough questions and keep keeping us entertained. Thank you.
Hey, I really appreciate it. Have a great day. Everybody be safe on the roads today. And anytime, gentlemen, have a great day. Thank you.
We appreciate it. Jim Comparoni from Spartan Mag and On3.com. We're loaded today for Spartan discussion, and I hope you enjoyed it. Mitch Lyons, appreciate him. Fred Heumann, Jim Comparoni. We thank you for the time. We're back with you tomorrow morning, 6 o'clock here on X's and BrO's.